Well, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I've decided to do something a little different with the reading today and turn it into more of an interactive tarot exercise. Thanksgiving, we have this idealized idea of the perfect Thanksgiving where we sit around the table with relatives we may or may not want to see. Many of them we only tolerate because we have to once a year. We find ourselves sitting around the table with a carved turkey, perfect dinner fixings, and the smell of pie wafting in from the kitchen. And at a certain point, either before, during, or after the meal, everyone pauses and takes a turn going around the table to tell everyone what they feel thankful for. Not a bad idea. You know, we hear different things. We'll hear things related to our family. You know, we feel glad that we have our family. We have our thanks for that. We might hear some things about our thankfulness for material objects or a great Black Friday sale that, come to think of it, we need to hurry up and finish dinner for so we can go and get a head start on that on Thanksgiving night. I'd like to use the cards to take a look at some things that we often may not feel thankful for, but that maybe we should. So let's take a look at the top row first. You'll see that we have some of the more bad or negative major arcana up top. The Hermit, we can associate with feeling lonely, especially during this time of year, which gets kind of difficult for a lot of people. Or the Hanged Man, who also has a very lonely disposition, immobile and stagnant. We have Death, which in a very literal sense can cause discomfort and sorrow, but also as things in our life go and die and transform, we have to deal with that. And we often don't enjoy those circumstances. In the Tower, we see collapse, mortal danger, chaos and turmoil. We don't really think favorably of these concepts and ideas, these experiences. We feel thankful once we've gotten through them. But we generally don't envy people going through these experiences. And I don't want to set out to say that at the end of this reading, you'll want these experiences. But I hope that we will look at them a little differently. And down here, we can see some other experiences or situations. Again, the types of things we don't generally feel really good about. I mean, we don't really need to say more about this. This looks painful. We overthink things. Other people hurt us. We see the end of relationships and the lonely, painful reflections that we go through. We see strife. We see greediness, miserliness. Later on, using this video as a model, I'd like you to take some time and set something up like this. Find some of the major arcana that you don't particularly envy other people over. You don't have to use 4. You can use 2 or 3 or 10. Probably don't want to use them all. and find an equal number of minors, or at least 4 of the minors, one from each suit or sphere of life, quadrant of life, also that don't give you the best feeling, and take a few minutes to reflect on them and see why. What kind of feelings or thoughts do those call to mind? And lay those out. And then I want you to take a very specific major arcana card. Temperance, or as some decks call it, alchemy. The Heindel and Black Flame Tarot both choose to call temperance alchemy, and for good reason, I think. Do some visualizing and picture yourself in these situations. Take a few minutes to do that when you hopefully make some time to do this exercise. Lay temperance or alchemy at the center of these situations that we typically don't like and that we typically don't envy. And then watch them transform in your mind into more favorable things. Let's see what happens. Having applied a little alchemy, we come to certain realizations. Remember, to get to this point, completion, or if we want to put it into psychology terms, let's call it self-actualization. To get to this fulfilled, actualized state, we have to experience certain archetypes. We have to experience certain things. They make us whole as people in our experiences. First of all, we can't relate to other people, other members of the human species, without going through some of these things. Excuse me. And we can't appreciate the good without having experienced these things. Remember, the Buddha couldn't possibly understand life without encountering death. As one famous heavy metal artist wrote, without the threat of death, there's no reason to live at all. Without chaos, how can we fully appreciate tranquility and peace? Without lonesome introspection, what do we have to measure interactions with other humans against? Without the gestation that can come from immobility, how can we grow? In any of these cases and many others, we can simply answer, we can't. The dark and negative, we have to have those in order to understand and appreciate the light and positive and the interactions between the two. But something else happens when we apply alchemy, or temperance, not just in the minor arcana. We can take a negative, overthinking, painful situation and learn courage, and we can face things differently in the future. We can take lonely disappointment, and we can turn that into a lesson that will allow us to pursue things that will result in happy fulfillment. We can take strife and we can turn that into creative celebrations. And we can take the example of a miser. And we can figure out how not to repeat that example. Care for ourselves and have a surplus that allows us to care for others. And this doesn't have to mean monetary. This can mean in any number of spheres of life. Now, getting through, excuse me, I should feel thankful for my cough because it helps me appreciate when I don't have one. Getting through these situations and arriving at a more fulfilled and full self will help us to transform everyday situations on the short and long term for our own benefit and for the other people's benefit, the other things that we truly care about. So, as you find yourselves, hopefully, contemplating that wonderful Thanksgiving spirit, give a little attention to the difficulty. Give a little attention to the trials and obstacles and challenges, because in the end, they make us stronger people. When you do this exercise yourself, make sure also for each of your negative minors to find an equal number of positives, preferably in the same suits, so that you can have that visual experience of flipping them over and walking away from it on a more positive note. Remember, the power to change things often lies in yourself. Remember the Hermetic axiom, as within, so without. We may not have control over major things in our life, but we do have control, and no one can take it away, of our perceptions and our responses. View failure as an opportunity. View failure as a successful learning experience. And view it as a chance to move forward and do better. And feel thankful for it.